Some people are just never satisfied, no matter how much they achieve. When it comes to our bodies, that drive for perfection can push us to dangerous extremes. It's one thing to hit the gym hard, but these bodybuilders push the boundaries far beyond what's safe or even sane. From injecting dangerous substances to obsessively chasing the biggest muscles, they risked it all for the sake of size. Here are 20 bodybuilders who took it too far. Number 20. Andreas Munzer. Andreas Munzer was a name whispered in awe and fear in the world of bodybuilding. His body was legendary, chiseled to the point where every muscle seemed to be carved from stone. But what he did to achieve this came with a terrible price. Andreas was known for his extreme dedication to reaching the lowest possible body fat percentage. He pushed his body beyond human limits, using a cocktail of dangerous substances, including steroids, diuretics, and other performance-enhancing drugs. Munzer's obsession wasn't just with size, but with perfecting the ripped look. He strived for a physique where every vein popped and every muscle fiber was visible. To achieve this, he constantly dehydrated his body, using diuretics to strip away every last drop of water. His diet was so strict that his body was almost permanently in a state of starvation. The combination of these factors wreaked havoc on his internal organs. Despite the outward appearance of health, Andreas Munzer was a ticking time bomb. In March 1996, that bomb went off. Munzer was rushed to the hospital with severe stomach pains. The doctors found that his liver and kidneys had failed, and his stomach was filled with blood. Despite their efforts, he died on the operating table. The autopsy revealed a body ravaged by years of abuse. His liver was full of tumors. His heart was twice the normal size, and his muscles were filled with scar tissue from countless injections. Number 19. Greg Valentino. Greg Valentino became infamous in the bodybuilding world, not just for his massive arms, but for the shocking way he achieved them. Unlike most bodybuilders who focus on overall symmetry, Greg decided to make his arms the biggest in the world. At one point, they measured a staggering 27 inches around. But those arms weren't built on muscle alone. Greg used a dangerous mix of steroids, testosterone, and synthol, an oil that inflates muscles to unnatural sizes. However, Greg's obsession came at a cost. He stopped caring about basic hygiene, reusing needles over and over. This neglect led to a horrific infection in his bicep. But instead of going to a doctor immediately, Greg tried to drain the abscess himself in his bathroom. The result was nothing short of a horror show, with blood and pus spilling out, and the infection worsening. When he finally sought medical help, doctors had to slice open his bicep to clean out the infection. This left him with a permanent scar and an arm that was no longer symmetrical. His once famous arms were now a cautionary tale. Greg Valentino didn't just damage his body, he became a symbol of the dangers of taking bodybuilding to the extreme. Number 18. Sally McNeil. Sally McNeil's story is as dark as it gets in the world of bodybuilding. A former Marine, Sally was known for her strong physique, but behind that strength was a life spiraling out of control. Her bodybuilding journey was deeply intertwined with her personal life, and not in a good way. Sally married fellow bodybuilder Ray McNeil, and their relationship was a stormy one, marked by violence and turmoil. The couple's life was fueled by steroids, which only added to the volatility of their marriage. On Valentine's Day in 1995, things took a deadly turn. During a heated argument, Sally shot Ray twice with a shotgun, killing him. She claimed it was self-defense, alleging years of abuse. However, the case was complicated by the fact that both she and Ray were heavy users of steroids. The defense argued that Sally was suffering from roid rage, a condition where steroid use leads to extreme aggression. But the jury didn't buy it. She was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 19 years to life in prison. The story doesn't end there. While in prison, Sally's case gained renewed attention as discussions about the effects of steroids on behavior intensified. Many debated whether her actions were a direct result of the substances she was taking or if there was more to it. After spending over 2 decades behind bars, Sally was released on parole in 2020. Number 17. Chad Brothers. Chad Brothers' story is a tragic example of how things can spiral out of control when bodybuilding meets dangerous substances. Chad was a passionate bodybuilder, but on one fateful day in 2011, everything went wrong. While working out at a gym in Colony, New York, Chad suddenly fell off an elliptical machine. What happened next shocked everyone in the gym. After the fall, Chad went into a violent rage, destroying equipment and attacking anyone in his path. Gym members and staff were terrified as he continued his rampage. The police were called, and when they arrived, Chad's behavior escalated. He fought the officers, forcing them to use a taser to try to subdue him. But even that wasn't enough to stop Chad. It took multiple officers and gym members to finally restrain him. What no one knew at the time was that Chad had both steroids and PCP in his system. This dangerous combination likely fueled his uncontrollable aggression. After being tased several times, Chad suddenly collapsed and stopped breathing. Despite efforts to revive him, he was pronounced dead at the scene. The autopsy later confirmed the presence of the drugs, shedding light on what drove his terrifying outburst. Number 16. Ruben Arzu. Ruben was known for his impressive size and strength, but what happened one night in 2011 stunned everyone who knew him. Arzu, who was reportedly under the influence of both steroids and PCP, went on a terrifying rampage that left 2 people severely injured and his own life spiraling out of control. It all started when Arzu, in a drug-fueled state, broke into a couple's home in Rancho Cucamonga, California. The homeowners were caught off guard as Ruben, towering at 6 feet 3 inches and weighing around 300 pounds, violently attacked them. The man was beaten so severely that he suffered broken bones and had to be hospitalized. His wife, who tried to help, was also injured in the chaos. Arzu's sheer size and strength made it nearly impossible for the couple to defend themselves. When the police arrived, they found Ruben naked and still in a state of uncontrollable rage. It took 4 officers with stun guns and 4 sets of handcuffs to restrain Arzu, so you know there was way more than just a couple of beers in his system. He was arrested on suspicion of attempted homicide. Number 15. Bertil Fox. Bertil Fox was once a giant in the bodybuilding world, known for his incredible physique and dominant presence on stage. Born in St. Kitts and raised in London, Fox quickly made a name for himself, winning titles like Mr. Britain and Mr. Europe in his early 20s. His massive size and intense training regimen earned him the nickname Brutal Bertil. But behind that powerful exterior, there were darker elements at play. Fox's success in the sport was not just the result of hard work in the gym. Like many bodybuilders of his era, Fox used anabolic steroids to enhance his performance and build his incredible muscle mass. The pressure to stay on top in a fiercely competitive industry drove him, as it did many others, to rely on these substances. While steroids helped him achieve a physique that few could rival, they also contributed to the volatility and aggression that would later define the most tragic chapter of his life. In 1997, Fox's life took a shocking and irreversible turn. He was arrested and later convicted for the double murder of his former fiancée, Laoka Brown, and her mother, Violet. The crime sent shockwaves through the bodybuilding community, with many questioning how someone with such promise could fall so far. Fox was initially sentenced to death, though his sentence was later reduced to life imprisonment upon appeal. On August 4, 2022, after serving 25 years, Fox was granted a pardon by the Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis and has since returned to the UK as a free man. Number 14. Mohamed Benaziza. Known as the Killer of Giants for his ability to defeat much larger competitors, Benaziza was a fierce athlete who quickly made a name for himself in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Standing at just 5 feet 3 inches, he was not the tallest on stage, but his muscle density, definition, and conditioning were unparalleled. In 1990, he achieved one of his greatest victories by winning the Night of Champions, solidifying his place in bodybuilding history. However, Benaziza's relentless pursuit of perfection ultimately led to his downfall. On October 4th, 1992, after competing in the Dutch Grand Prix, he suddenly collapsed and died. The cause of death was later determined to be a heart attack brought on by severe dehydration and the misuse of diuretics, which he had used to achieve his ultra-dry, shredded look on stage. In the hours leading up to his death, Benaziza had complained of feeling unwell, but like many bodybuilders, he pushed through the discomfort to compete. His determination to be in peak condition for the competition drove him to use drastic measures, which ultimately proved fatal. Number 13. Mike Matarazzo. Mike Matarazzo was a bodybuilder whose presence was impossible to ignore. Known for his massive arms and thick calves, Mike was one of the most charismatic figures in bodybuilding during the 1990s. He started his career with a bang, winning the 1991 NPC USA Championships, which earned him his IFBB Pro card. Matarazzo quickly became a fan favorite, not just for his impressive physique, but for his energetic and personable nature. His Boston accent and larger-than-life personality made him a standout at competitions and in interviews. But behind the muscles and the charm, there was a darker side to Mike's journey. Like many bodybuilders of his time, Matarazzo relied heavily on anabolic steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs to build and maintain his enormous size. These substances allowed him to compete at the highest levels, but they also came with severe risks. Over time, the toll on his body became undeniable. In the early 2000s, Mike began experiencing serious health problems, including heart issues. By 2004, his competitive career was cut short when he underwent triple bypass surgery. Matarazzo openly admitted that his years of steroid use had contributed to his health decline, and he became an outspoken critic of the drug culture in bodybuilding. Despite stepping away from the sport, his health continued to deteriorate, and in 2014, at the age of 48, Mike Matarazzo passed away from a heart attack. Number 12. Aziz Shavershian. Aziz Shavershian, better known as Ziz, became an internet sensation, inspiring millions with his chiseled physique and carefree attitude. Born in Russia and raised in Australia, Aziz wasn't always the shredded figure many remember. In fact, he started as a skinny teenager who decided to transform his body after being inspired by his older brother. Through intense training, diet, and the use of anabolic steroids, Aziz built a physique that gained him a massive online following. Ziz wasn't just about muscles. He embodied a lifestyle that celebrated aesthetics, confidence, and living life to the fullest. His YouTube videos, social media posts, and even his catchphrases like, "We're all gonna make it, brah," turned him into a cultural icon among young men striving for a similar lifestyle. But beneath the surface of his shredded physique and online persona, there were dark undertones. Aziz's sudden rise to fame was also accompanied by the pressures to maintain his physique and the lifestyle he promoted. He openly discussed using steroids to achieve his look, a decision that many of his fans didn't fully understand the risks of. The toll on his body became apparent in August 2011 when, at just 22 years old, Aziz suffered a fatal heart attack while on vacation in Thailand. The autopsy revealed that the combination of steroids and an undiagnosed heart condition led to his untimely death. Number 11. Arlindo de Souza. Arlindo de Souza, known as The Mountain, became infamous not for his strength, but for the shocking way he transformed his body. In Brazil, Arlindo sought fame by building the biggest biceps anyone had ever seen. But his massive arms weren't a result of hard work in the gym alone. Instead, Arlindo turned to a dangerous cocktail of substances to achieve his outlandish size. Arlindo injected a mixture of synthol, alcohol, and other oils directly into his muscles. But this method doesn't come without serious risks. Doctors warned Arlindo repeatedly about the dangers, including the high likelihood of infections, abscesses, and even the possibility of losing his arms. But Arlindo ignored these warnings, driven by his obsession to have the biggest biceps in the world. His biceps swelled to an incredible 29 inches, drawing both awe and horror from those who saw him. However, his body wasn't built to handle the unnatural size. The injections caused his muscles to become rock hard and almost unusable. He could barely move his arms, and the synthetic material inside his muscles made them more of a hindrance than a source of strength. Despite the physical consequences and the dangers to his health, Arlindo continued his extreme practices, driven by the desire for attention and fame. Number 10. Kirill Tarishin. Kirill Tarishin, widely known as the Synthol Kid, or Popeye, became an internet sensation not for his strength, but for his unusually large arms, which he achieved by injecting synthol. Originally from Russia, Kirill started his extreme body modification journey in his early 20s. Unlike traditional bodybuilders who spend years building muscle through hard work and dedication, Tarishin took a shortcut that would ultimately lead to severe consequences. Kirill's arms grew to a staggering size, but they were far from natural or healthy. His biceps and triceps, filled with synthol, took on a balloon-like appearance, devoid of any muscle definition. The injections caused his arms to swell unnaturally, drawing both attention and concern from around the world. While Kirill enjoyed the fame that came with his shocking transformation, he also faced a backlash from the bodybuilding community and medical professionals who warned him about the dangers of his actions. The consequences of Kirill's choices soon became apparent. The synthol injections led to severe complications, including chronic pain, muscle damage, and the risk of losing his arms altogether. Doctors advised him to undergo surgery to remove the substance before it caused irreversible harm, but Kirill initially resisted, clinging to the fame his oversized arms brought him. Eventually, the pain and health risks became too great to ignore. Kirill underwent multiple surgeries to remove the synthol from his arms, a process that was both physically and emotionally taxing. Number 9. Trevor Smith. Trevor Smith was a name whispered among the bodybuilding community for his sheer size and extreme training methods. He wasn't just big, he was massive, tipping the scales at over 400 pounds. Trevor wasn't your typical bodybuilder aiming for competition. He was a powerlifter and strongman who believed in pushing the body beyond its natural limits. His philosophy was intense, and so were his methods. Trevor founded the Nuclear Nutrition Training System, a grueling regimen that promised to transform the body into something truly monstrous. He pushed the idea that the mind is the most powerful tool in achieving physical greatness, and he put his body through hell to prove it. His workouts were legendary for their intensity, often described as brutal by those who attempted them. But Trevor's obsession with size and strength came with a cost. Despite his knowledge of the body and training, Trevor's approach was far from healthy. All that extra weight and the damage done to his internal organs by years of steroid abuse meant he was putting an excessive strain on his heart. And in 2004, he suffered a heart attack and died at the age of 33. Number 8. Dean Warmby. Dean Warmby's journey into the world of bodybuilding took a tragic turn that no one could have anticipated. Dean was a dedicated bodybuilder from Manchester, England, who prided himself on his massive physique. He was known for his extreme diet and training regimens, pushing his body to its absolute limits. But the path he chose in the pursuit of size and strength eventually led to devastating consequences. Dean's diet was shocking, even by bodybuilding standards. He consumed over 10,000 calories a day, which included several energy drinks and fast food meals. His aim was to pack on as much muscle as possible, but this high-calorie, high-sugar diet took a toll on his health. What made things worse was his use of anabolic steroids, a choice that significantly increased the risks associated with his lifestyle. In 2010, Dean was diagnosed with liver cancer, a direct result of his extreme lifestyle. Despite the diagnosis, he initially refused conventional treatments, instead opting for alternative therapies. Unfortunately, these methods did little to stop the progression of the disease. As his condition worsened, Dean tried to reverse the damage by switching to a healthier diet and lifestyle, but it was too late. Dean Warmby's battle with cancer was a public one. He documented his fight on social media, hoping to inspire others to make healthier choices. But in July 2015, at just 39 years old, Dean passed away. Number 7. Gary Hyming. Gary Hyming was a seasoned bodybuilder from Australia, known for his dedication to the sport and his impressive physique. He wasn't the most famous name in bodybuilding, but within the community, he was respected for his commitment and perseverance. However, his story took a tragic turn in 2009 during a competition in Victoria, Australia. What was supposed to be just another day of showcasing his hard work quickly turned into a shocking and somber event. Hyming was on stage, performing his routine when he suddenly collapsed. The audience and judges were stunned as he fell to the floor, unresponsive. Medical personnel rushed to his aid, but despite their efforts, Gary could not be revived. He was pronounced dead shortly after, and the cause was later determined to be a heart attack. The shocking part of Gary Hyming's death was that it happened right in the middle of a competition, a place where bodybuilders are supposed to be at their peak physical condition. But for Hyming, like many others in the sport, the pressure to maintain an extreme level of fitness took a toll on his heart. The use of performance-enhancing drugs, combined with the intense physical strain of bodybuilding, likely contributed to the fatal event. Number 6. Mustafa Ismail. Mustafa Ismail became famous, or perhaps infamous, for his extraordinary biceps, which at one point were recorded as the largest in the world. Measuring an unbelievable 31 inches in circumference, his arms became his claim to fame, earning him a spot in the Guinness World Records. However, the story behind those massive biceps is one of controversy and caution. Ismail, originally from Egypt and later residing in the United States, claimed that his extraordinary size was due to a high-protein diet, which included consuming over 7 pounds of protein each day. He also credited a rigorous workout routine for his astonishing muscle growth. But the fitness community wasn't convinced. Many believed that his biceps were not the result of natural bodybuilding, but rather the use of synthol. The controversy surrounding Ismail's biceps only grew when Guinness quietly removed his record from their site, likely due to the ongoing debate about the authenticity of his methods. Although he continues to deny using any substances to artificially enhance his size, the lack of definition and the unnatural appearance of his biceps raises eyebrows and fuels skepticism. Before we move on, here's today's subscriber's pick. Have you ever wondered just how far some people will go to chase their dreams, or maybe even their obsessions? Take a look at these two extraordinary transformations. On one side, we have a man who has pushed his Superman obsession to an unimaginable level. His body is now a canvas for his superhero fantasy, but at what cost? On the other side, a bodybuilder seems to be turning himself into a real-life version of Ben Grimm, the Thing from the Fantastic Four. These kinds of extreme modifications take a level of dedication that is beyond belief, but it begs the question, what drives someone to go this far? Is it for personal satisfaction, a quest for fame, or is it something deeper? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Number 5. Curt Hennig. Curt Hennig, famously known as Mr. Perfect in the world of professional wrestling, was not just a wrestling icon, but also a man who pushed his body to extreme limits. Born into a wrestling family, Curt was destined for the spotlight, and he certainly made his mark. His in-ring persona, that of an athlete who could do no wrong, was complemented by his real-life dedication to maintaining a powerful physique. Hennig's wrestling career was characterized by his incredible athleticism and charisma. He wasn't just performing, he was excelling at every move, every match, making it look effortless. But the reality behind the curtain was far from perfect. The physical demands of professional wrestling are immense, and to keep up with the grueling schedule and the need for constant peak physical condition, Curt, like many wrestlers of his era, turned to performance-enhancing drugs, including steroids. The use of these substances, combined with the intense lifestyle of a professional wrestler, began to take a toll on Hennig's health. He suffered from numerous injuries over the years, and to manage the pain and maintain his in-ring performance, he also used painkillers. Unfortunately, this cocktail of drugs proved to be a deadly mix. In 2003, at just 44 years old, Curt Hennig passed away from acute cocaine intoxication, with steroids and painkillers contributing to his untimely death. Number 4. Nasser El Sonbati. Nasser El Sonbati was one of the most imposing figures in bodybuilding during the 1990s. Standing at 6 feet, 2 inches tall and weighing over 300 pounds in competition, Nasser was known not just for his size, but for his detailed and symmetrical physique. Born in Germany to an Egyptian father and a Yugoslavian mother, he brought a unique blend of genetics to the sport, quickly rising through the ranks to become a top contender in the Mr. Olympia competition. Nasser's dedication to bodybuilding was undeniable. He trained relentlessly, often spending hours in the gym perfecting his physique. However, like many athletes in the sport, Nasser's success was not achieved through training alone. He was open about his use of anabolic steroids. By the late 1990s, Nasser was a regular top 5 finisher at the Mr. Olympia, even placing second in 1997, just behind the legendary Dorian Yates. Despite his success, the toll of years of intense training and drug use began to show. Nasser started to experience severe health issues, including kidney problems, which are often linked to the prolonged use of steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs. His health continued to decline, and in 2013, at the age of 47, Nasser El Sonbati passed away from heart and kidney failure. Number 3. Rich Piana. Rich Piana was a larger-than-life figure in the bodybuilding world, both literally and figuratively. Standing at 6 feet 1 inch and weighing over 300 pounds, Piana was known not just for his massive size, but for his charismatic personality and brutally honest approach to the sport. He openly admitted to using steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs throughout his career, a rarity in a sport where such practices are often kept under wraps. Piana's journey in bodybuilding began at a young age, inspired by his mother, who was a bodybuilder herself. He quickly made a name for himself in the competitive scene, winning titles like Mr. California. However, Piana soon realized that the traditional path of competitive bodybuilding wasn't for him. Instead, he turned to social media, where he could connect directly with fans and build his brand. His candid discussions about steroid use, intense training regimens, and the realities of bodybuilding earned him a massive following online. But Piana's lifestyle was extreme, even by bodybuilding standards. He didn't just lift weights, he pursued size and strength with an almost obsessive intensity. His use of synthol and other substances to enhance his already massive physique raised concerns, but Piana brushed off criticism, insisting that he knew the risks. Unfortunately, those risks caught up with him. In August 2017, Rich Piana collapsed at home and was placed in a medically induced coma. 2 weeks later, he passed away at the age of 46. The cause of death was attributed to heart disease, worsened by his long-term steroid use. Number 2. Romario dos Santos Alves. What began as a passion for bodybuilding turned into an obsession that nearly cost Romario his life. He was inspired by the muscular physiques of comic book heroes and wanted to achieve that same level of bulk. But when traditional methods didn't give him the results he craved, Romario turned to a dangerous shortcut. He started injecting his muscles with a mixture that made them balloon to unnatural sizes. His biceps swelled to 25 inches, giving him the appearance he desired, but at a terrible cost. His muscles became rock hard, filled with the substance rather than actual muscle tissue. This drastic change in his body didn't just affect his appearance, it started to impact his health severely. The injections caused severe pain and led to serious infections. Doctors warned Romario that he could lose his arms if he didn't stop. The damage was so extensive that at one point, amputation seemed like the only solution. The mixture he injected began to solidify inside his muscles, making surgery a complicated and dangerous procedure. Despite these warnings, Romario continued his dangerous practices, driven by a desire to maintain his massive physique. His obsession with size led to a dark period in his life, where he even contemplated suicide due to the overwhelming physical and emotional pain. Number 1. Greg Kovacs. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing over 400 pounds during the peak of his career, Greg was a giant among giants. His sheer mass was unparalleled, and he became known for being one of the largest bodybuilders in the history of the sport. However, his quest for size led him down a path that ultimately took a heavy toll on his health. Greg's massive size wasn't just a result of hard work in the gym, it also came from the heavy use of performance-enhancing drugs. Steroids and other substances were part of his routine, and while they helped him achieve a monstrous physique, they also contributed to significant health problems. As his career progressed, Greg began to suffer from a range of issues, including heart problems, which are common in bodybuilders who use such substances extensively. Despite his impressive size, Greg's competitive success was limited. He never placed highly in the Mr. Olympia contests, and his career in bodybuilding didn't bring the accolades that many of his peers enjoyed. Instead, Greg's size became more of a spectacle than a testament to success in the sport. As his health deteriorated, Greg stepped away from the competitive scene, but the damage had already been done. In November 2013, at the age of 44, Greg Kovacs passed away from heart failure. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.